Hey, listeners, Alec Baynes is our new podcaster on Mental Health News Radio Network with his show, Anxiously Okay. We're going to get to know him on this show and find out what his podcast will be all about. Thanks for joining us.
I wanna try and take in all the highs, embrace them for more than a moment's time. I want you, please don't move when I push you away. I know I contradict myself some days, but will you ride the lows with me?
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I am your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Our goal is to help discussions about mental health be a regular part of your daily life, no different than discussions about physical health. Mental illness can be a topic of discussion under the umbrella of mental health, along with so many other topics. This show is the original program on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com. Our network of shows are played in over 180 countries and cover more topics under that umbrella than you can possibly imagine. We were talking about mental health long before it became cool and popular to talk about, and thank goodness it has become so popular. We have incredible guests, advocates, patients, experts, people. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy our intro music, a song named Lows, written by Aubrey Toon. You can find her music at www.aubreytoone.com.
That night when I started praying, I cried. Will you ride the lows with me? Will you ride the lows with me? When I'm down, my vision gets blurry.
Alec, thank you so much for not only being on the network, but also coming on the show.
Hi there.
We're going to record this so that your listeners know a little bit about your show, and then also my listeners know what your show is about. So can you give us an idea? And I know with the show being called Anxiously Okay, that probably the worst thing I could do is put you on the spot and go, give me your elevator pitch. But I don't mean it like that. I literally why did you want to do this? And why did you, want to have a podcast?
Yeah. My name is Alec Baynes. I'm 24 years old. I'm pretty young. And for almost my entire life, I'd say for the first 21 years, I battled anxiety, and I still do. I didn't really think anything of it, or at least I just didn't try to get any help or anything. I was thinking it was exclusive to just me, like nobody else would understand. And then eventually it got to a point where I knew I needed to do something. And so I decided to seek help from therapists and really try to understand my anxiety and learn to be okay with it. And so I really wanted to do a podcast to essentially let people know, hey, it's okay to have anxiety. It doesn't matter how big or small. It's okay. It's not a defect. It's not a problem. It's completely fine to have.
And, most everyone has it.
Yeah, for sure.
At some point, in their lives. And this year especially has been,
Yeah, definitely.
How's it been for you? You're a completely different generation than me. So how's it been for you and your life and your lifestyle and all of those things?
This year, it's interesting because I already have a work from home job. And so this wasn't necessarily new to me to have to be home all the time. But the thing is that no one was ready for a pandemic. No one knew this was coming. And so the mental toll it took on me to have to look outside and be like, I don't know what's going to happen out there now. That was something that I could not process. So, it did take a toll on me mentally, but I will say that if I did not seek help and did not practice what I practiced in order to help manage my anxiety, I don't know what would have happened to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I work from home too. And I thought, oh, I'll ride through this fine. And I got to about a week before Christmas and
Hmm.
went, I'm not okay anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
So it takes a long time. It's sort of a slow build with me. And then I realize, so all these very shallow things like I'm rocking this that I've said are ridiculous.
hmm,
That was just me doing all my techniques to avoid anxiety and dealing with anything.
yeah, yeah.
So, it's been interesting for everybody, and we're not out of it yet by any stretch, but we at
Right,
least have some light at the end of the tunnel.
definitely.
So how about with your peers, and your employment? How open have you been able to be, and do they know that you're going to be doing a podcast?
As far as employment, I don't really have any coworkers to like talk to or anything like that. So, not really anything there. But as far as with my peers and with my family, um, well, some of my family knows about me starting a podcast, and they actually really liked the idea. My therapist that I go to, he actually was the one who encouraged me
Oh,
to, because I
good.
was like, because I found out about mental health news radio, and I'm like, I talked to him like, maybe I should do this, or what were you thinking? And he encouraged me, you should go for it. And so, and then as far as peers, I haven't talked to some of my peers from like back in like high school or college in
Right.
years. However, at the time they were, they understood about, they understood my anxiety, or they understood, it didn't bother them or anything. And then some of the friends I talked to online today, they are very happy for me for
Oh,
starting a
good.
podcast.
Good. I mean, it's such a great way to get what's going, the drama and the high definition movie that is constantly going on in your head.
Yes.
It gives it a place to put it out there. And what I've liked about it, being someone that's had social anxiety for quite, it's something I manage as well. And so what I like about it is I can speak and I can get what I need to out. So it's outside of me, or at least partially outside of me, and
Yeah,
not rummaging around, wreaking havoc in my head.
absolutely.
But there's no audience other than this mic. And
Hmm.
so, why would I want to go do it as a public speech with a big crowd? Then forget this being a profound experience. There's the trauma of getting prepared, of
Right, right.
being on all of this. You could just, you know, this is what's going on.
Exactly. And yeah, you mentioned like, containing that anxiety and not really talking about it. That's what I did for most of my life.
Yeah.
And eventually, when you keep bottling it up and you just let it keep eating you up inside, eventually there's nothing left to eat. So,
Oh, so true.
yeah.
So true. Yeah. Yeah, that is profound. Absolutely. Well, I mean, when we first met, I thought, man, what a voice for radio.
I
Because
get told that a lot.
I bet you do. You
Yeah.
sound at a minimum 20 years older than what you are,
Well, thank you.
but not aged. Like,
Right,
oh,
right.
okay, he's gonna do his podcast until he retires, and that'll be it. So
Yeah, no, I've been told that quite a lot. So,
how
yeah.
about you with school? To explain a little bit about, when things crept up on you to a point. I mean, I know we know, and I remember asking my son, how did you know that you had anxiety? And he was like, it's called Google. But, for you, you're that much younger, about 10 years
Yeah,
younger than him. And like
right.
how you sort of got to a place, and then you had a pretty profound place, in your early 20s. So
Yeah.
explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll try to save on some of the details, but essentially I found out I was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome when I was 9. So I was in 4th grade. And then I know my mom and my teacher kind of found out like, hey, something is, I don't remember the word that they used, but basically they're like, I think he should be tested for autism or, Asperger's. And so they did conclude that I had it. And so I did not find out until I started high school. And I found out. I didn't ask, no one told me. I found out. And so in high school, I kind of was like, okay, well, I have Asperger's, so that means I'm this, or that means that I act this way. And or I believed that it was problematic, or that I believed that this is a label attached to me and there's no way to get it off. And
Mm,
so
kind of like a
uh
scarlet letter.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
moving through college, my anxiety kicked in. The thing is I didn't really know how to explain my anxiety. I've had it my entire life. I would get lightheaded, I'd get nauseous, and eventually we did conclude that it's social anxiety for me. It's, social interaction does take a toll on me mentally. One-on-one is a lot easier for me than me, doing a speech or something like that.
Oh yeah,
And
I hear you.
so, yeah. And so eventually late in college, I had one semester left, and mentally I was completely out of it to the point where I was suicidal. And so that let me know, okay, everything we've tried and everything people are telling me, none of that's working. So I'm going to make a choice by myself because I feel like this is what I need to do. So I was literally at my college dorm, and I contacted campus police and I said, I think my literal sentence was, can you just take me somewhere? Because I'm
Mm.
not mentally okay. And so I went to the ER. And then when I went back home, because I went back home for this semester, they're like, okay, we need to take care of you mentally before you can finish school. Like, we need to make sure you're okay. And so I finally started going to therapy, and I did not realize how much anxiety and how much negativity went on in my head until I
Oh.
started going to therapy. So yeah, that's basically my very short story about anxiety
Oh,
for me.
I don't you hate it too? Because sometimes I'll be thinking about something all day and I'm just gnawing on it, and
Exactly.
it is not healthy what I'm
No.
thinking, and then I am that I guess I start behaving as though that person that I'm thinking about actually did these things.
Yeah, I've definitely had experiences like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it took me a long time in therapy. I had one therapist that started this by saying, just however many times you need to a day, you got to stop yourself and say, well, that's something that doesn't need to happen.
Right, right. Yeah, and that was something that I would try to do a lot, is like just try to stop my thoughts, or it's
Hmm.
like, oh, you shouldn't be thinking that, or you should try to think of something else. But lately I kind of like to think of it as, learn to be okay with thoughts like that, like learn,
Yeah.
that's okay to have a thought like that, or that's okay to, you know,
Yeah, I think the
yeah.
exercise was for me to realize how much I do it.
Yeah, same
And
same for me as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you learn to stop it. And then you're right. Yeah, and then there becomes a sort of an acceptance piece around it. You're not doing it as much.
Hmm.
And you also can say, okay, well, these leftover ones here are like in the normal realm, whatever
Yeah.
normal is. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to be okay with.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's going to be therapeutic for you, but it's also going to
Hmm.
be so helpful to your audience. So talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit about the kinds of, I mean, obviously you're going to talk about anxiety, but are you going to
Hmm.
have guests, or like how are you going to sort
Um,
of plot it out?
I don't know for sure if I'll have guests. I'll kind of just we'll just kind of see how that goes. Most of it will be me kind of sharing my experiences and kind of just breaking it apart. Um, and just kind of really, my show is called Anxiously Okay. I want to, my entire point of this podcast is to let people know, like, hey, that's totally fine. All these, you think you're crazy with all these thoughts. Hey, I've had thoughts like that too. I've had that kind of anxiety. That's
Yeah.
okay to have. I think I've said this before, I don't have credentials. I'm not a doctor or a therapist. I am literally somebody who's living through this right now, but I still have something to share. I still want to let people know, you know, your anxiety is completely fine. And I am somebody living through it right now. Hear it from me. Like, I literally have firsthand experience with all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's so validating. It's validating,
Hmm.
and it's also helpful because how you um, hear someone else deal with something. If it's not part of your toolbox, you can try that on and go, well, if it worked for them, maybe that'll,
Yeah.
work for me. And then you've got hopefully another thing in your bag that you carry around with you to keep you as much on an even keel outwardly as
Yeah.
possible
Yeah. Yeah.
while you're actively working on the inward part as well.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, there are two shows, and I'm going to put this out there to your listeners too, but there's a show that we do on the network that is done by a hospital that works with autistic kids. And they always want people somewhere on the spectrum that are older to talk to the parents that are the listeners of these kids that are very young in that environment. And then we have another show, the JCK Foundation, that is all about anxiety. And I'm telling you, the minute I introduce you to these guys, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, where do y'all live? Really cool people. But we'll tell your listeners and mine where people can find out more about you.
Well, I will try to make a Twitter account specifically for Anxiously Okay. In my free time, I am online. I play video games online. So I have a username SmartAlec24. It is gaming related. However, I do allow mental health chat because I feel like we need more of that today. And if people want to email me or anything, my email is wab064@gmail.com.
And are you on Twitch, I would imagine?
Yes, I am on Twitch, SmartAlec24.
Oh my gosh, of course you are. Yet another show I will be introducing to you that's on the network and is all about gaming and mental health. So this will be fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, listeners. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode on Mental Health News Radio Network. Looking forward to the podcast Anxiously Okay with Alec Baynes. Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to proze.com and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun, snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY, candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstrespondermentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissistabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
But will you ride the low, low, lows with me? Will you ride the low, low, lows with me?
One thing you can always count on at Mental Health News Radio Network and my show is that there will always be dogs around. Why? They are natural healers, excellent for your mental health. The original therapy dog Miles has something to say in just a moment. For now, please check out all of our amazing shows at mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com and all your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, I'm Kristin Sananta Walker, and thank you for listening.
And I can ride the low, low, lows with me. I can ride the low, low, lows with me. Till my vision clears up perfectly. I can ride the low, low, lows with me.
Good boy.